a major confrontation. I think all of you have donated your time because you care about our village and want to do best for it. I think that what you are now trying to do as trustees is to do due diligence also. I agree that Trustee Bardini, it was great that you went ahead of time. I think that Mr. Maxheimer did two months worth of presentations, and in that time, maybe we could have asked for the other comparables at that time instead of after at the end. I can see that there might be things that you wanted to look into, but I would have thought that if due diligence was being done, looking at the other options, I don't know the names of them, that could have been done at the same time, or you could have asked for his information on that. I think again that every month that goes by, it costs us more money. That I wish that we could have, put everything out for tonight that you needed to have ready, so that we didn't have to wait until October, because it is costing us money each time. But I do thank you for your service. I believe that you want the best for the community. I just hope that you can all work together. And I don't think that a vote of no confidence is going to help bring things together. Thank you.
Chair, will you 3 minutes to Ed Ellis?
Pardon my lack of voice. I was disturbed with the last meeting. 2 numbers stuck out of my this whole week, this whole 2 weeks. Anyway, you're all very intelligent people. That's why we elected you. You're all elected, and your responsibilities are to take care of the business of Wauconda, its citizens, fiscal policy, safety. A lot of quibbling going on, just like Springfield, just like DC. What's happening? Nothing. Nothing's moving forward. Not enough is moving forward, and they have a lot on their plates. I want to go back to the numbers I mentioned. The village manager so eloquently presented the slide program, and he had a savings of $300,000 yearly with the removal of the 9/11 program from Wauconda savings. And then he said there was a crawling debt of $1.9 million by 2020, somewhere in that range. I said, this isn't chump change. We're going to go broke. Our taxes are going to go up. I don't want taxes to go up. And then we said, like, oh, the fire chief gave and Senkim gave a wonderful talk on the interfacing and how well it works and how efficient it is. We're spending a lot of money to keep a dinosaur antiquated system every year with updates and things like that. And I'm saying that doesn't take, all you need is paper and pencil, put the calculators and everything aside. $300,000, $1.9 million in 5 years. I don't like that at all. I said, then we want more time, we want more data, we want more of this, and it takes more time. Like, what kind of more data and time do we need? And then we want a tour of the place and see what we're going to see. We'll see 2 or 3 boards with blue, pink, and red lights going off, couple of telephones and headsets and screens. Did we learn anything from that? That's what I call a dog and pony show, I would guess. I've seen some big setups with CTA and watching every bus and train throughout the whole metropolitan area. Those were systems, and when I saw them, did I learn anything? I just saw how big they were and how expensive they were. But anyway, that's about all I have to say. I'd like to see a vote and move along to other things like Michigan water and other kind of smaller projects. Thank you very much. It's all with all
smaller.
Okay. Chair will take a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Trustee Black.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, motion to approve consideration of consent agenda by omnibus vote.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please. Oh, sorry.
A, those are paid from July 7th, 2019 to July 30th, 2016, in the amount of $436,360.11. The ordinance amending section 119.29A Wauconda, increasing the number of Class B liquor licenses from 4 to 6 for County Cafe 405 West Liberty Street, Small Town Brewery, 1000 North Grand Road, Unit 204.
Roll call, please. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. A through G. Roll call, please.
Trustee Reed?
Yes.
Trustee Belknap?
Yes.
Trustee Sparrow? Yes. Trustee Black?
Yes.
Trustee Powell?
Yes.
No business, motion to discuss item A, consideration and approval of resolution, vote for no confidence.
We need the motion on the floor before we discuss
Motion to
that.
discuss, yeah.
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion. Trustee Knight, you moved it. Any further comments?
I did. I think that unless we appreciate it, too much longer, hopefully, to this point, that we can move forward and as you've all heard tonight, we can move forward, work together, and keep going forward. And I don't think we need to go over any more of the details that we've gone over before.
Other comments? Any trustees? No. Okay. I have a brief statement that I'll share and we'll move forward. First, I just want to say that I believe that communicating with the residents is an obligation for me, but also for all of us. And that I believe that the discussion that we're having is about the dispatch consolidation is an important one that I want to make sure we shared with a wider audience. So that's why I accepted the invitation to be part of the question and answer phone conference that was sponsored by the Illinois Opportunity Project. So that was the gist of that. Of course, and I had mentioned last week, but I'll say it again, that there's no disregard or disrespect meant. Usually I don't share what meetings I'm speaking at with anyone, really, in this meeting. So that was that. They did reach about 3,000 folks, either live or by phone message, but I don't have a whole lot of details about that. So really, the message that we were trying to promote, though, is the fact that dispatch consolidation is important for our financial future, and that's really what I think we don't want to lose in any of this discussion. So moving on from that, then one thing I will say is over the past 15 months, we have been working with a group of about 20 folks on a committee, which is the Heroes of Freedom Committee. And that committee, with 20 of us from all walks of life and all the service organizations of Wauconda, have been able to really work cooperatively together because our hearts were in it and we had a passion. And that's what I want to see from us. There's 20 of us working together there, and we were able to raise over $125, so there's no tax costs to the village for the memorial. There's only 7 of us. And I firmly believe that if we honestly put forth an effort, that we'll get there. So that's what I'd like to see. So regardless of what was said or how they vote for the trustees, I know that I'm not going to ever stop trying to work together for the benefit of the village with the trustees. And I believe that we have some work to do, obviously, but I think that we'll get there. Last things I'll say is I think healthy debate and disagreement is a good thing. But we got to remember that that's the way our government works. And so when we do get along, which is a good portion of the time, it's because I'm going along with what's going on. But sometimes I think it's important to stand and fight for something, and some things are important to fight for. So, I believe the freedom of speech issues that we've discussed in the past are important to fight for. I think, the text on the Heroes of Freedom Memorial is important to fight for because of what it stands for. So I don't think that disagreement for the sake of disagreement is useful, and I'm certainly not going to make that a goal for me. I mean, obviously, we want to move things forward for the village. And I do appreciate everyone's service on the board because I know that everyone does volunteer their time, basically, and there's a small stipend that you get. So that's all I want to say is that I feel that we can work together and that we need to look past it. There's one thing I will say, though. I did ask the village attorney to look at just the citations on the resolution, and they didn't match with what the law is, so I brought a copy of what the actual citations are just so you have it. But really, I feel like the vote is more focused on opinions rather than any kind of specific things, and so we'll move on from there. But there's copies of what the actual citations of the statutes are. Okay. Any other commentary from the board? Okay, let's call the vote then. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Okay. Next, we'll move to the request for the Heroes of Freedom Committee for the approval of the text for the dedication plaque. For that, I ask that the committee members, actually the president of Heroes of Freedom is Kirk Morris. Kirk, if you would like to say your commentary now, please.
Sure, commentary. But I can also take questions from the board. I know there's some misinformation, quite a bit of it. I don't know where the 9/11 thing came, memorial name came. It's always been Heroes of Freedom. The brick says Heroes of Freedom. So we need to think large, not so small. I've had some comments about Kirk not living in Wauconda. I don't. The memorial has wider implications than just Wauconda. It just have the blessing of having it constructed here. It is a regional, a national, and in a lot of cases global implications here. To tag on to the gentleman here who mentioned the World War II analogy with Pearl Harbor. It was what pushed us into World War II. There was an awful lot of underpinnings of anger and resentments. But people recall, I won't give a complete history lesson, but Japan was taking a lot of property down along Indochina and the peninsula down into Thailand, and then they attacked us. As I recall, even though Bluto said it in Animal House, the Germans did not attack us. But we did join the war and then the efforts in going against Germany. So the same way. Undeniably connected. We lost 2,973 people on 9/11/2001. That was Twin Towers, Pentagon, which is military, and Shanksville. The response there was to go after the Taliban in Afghanistan, and we lost over 5,000 people, folks, in both Iraq and Afghanistan fighting the same enemy. It doesn't matter. They are undeniably connected, and to remove the words Iraq and Afghanistan, and I think I made a proposal, I don't know if it got to you or not, but in that last paragraph, if you were to insert, let me pull this out and I'll read it to you, you could follow along here. Now, the last paragraph of the rewrite, and I should also digress just a second and thank, and I don't know who it was, I know who was on our committee, but there were several from our committee and a couple of trustees who got together to do this third or fourth rewrite here. But you look at the second or third to the last paragraph, it says, it starts, those heartbreaking stories of unimaginable loss suffered by victims and their families on September 11, 2001, and to the sacrifices of those who were called to serve our nation. We insert in Iraq, Afghanistan, and go after thereafter. That becomes full and total encompassing, if that makes sense. That makes sense? You see where I'm inserting those 3 words? 1, 2, 3, 4 words? Okay, all right. Thanks for the,
Question?
Yeah, I just want to respond. I was the trustee who met with Chief Tato, Chief Yost, and Don Kutnak. Don Kutnak, the project manager, Chief Tato, of course, so the fire service, and Chief Yost, who's the treasurer of the committee. It's our understanding when we were approached at having meetings with the team was with them, to figure out. And B, that these people have already come and negotiate with faith language that would be acceptable to the committee and the board of trustees. And that's how we came up with the language that you see before you in your agenda package at page 33. We did have a long conversation about the specific answer that you mentioned. And one of the problems with that was that we have been fighting in a number of places, not just Afghanistan and Iraq. We have had service members engaged in the war on terror in theaters, large and small, throughout the world. I know this for a fact because my godson, my wife's godson, recently retired from the special forces, fought in many of those communities. He's had a Purple Heart. He's moved a number of times. Proud of his service, and I'm proud that he's a godson. So one of the reasons is we don't want to narrow it. The second thing is we want to include the sacrifices and the inspiration to everyone who is called to serve, not just those called to enlist in the military. Many people decided to be firefighters that day, watching that parade. Many people decided to go to law enforcement, go to emergency medical services. We didn't want to slug anybody. We wanted this to be inclusive. This is a dedication line. This is supposed to be I don't want to say generic because it gives a bad inclination, but essentially a generic statement of what this is about. And I think it accurately reflects it. The members of the committee that were with us in that meeting believe this accurately reflected it. And so the question I have for you, Mr. Morris, is people have reported to me that on social media you have indicated that you may rethink the donation of the artifact if the language does not meet with your approval.
and that is one of the false statements out there. I've never made that statement ever.
One thing I'd like to comment though, because I have a question on this too. When you said that you want it to be inclusive, and then you listed off firefighter, DMT, law enforcement, and so on, those are specifically mentioned in here. The only thing that's not mentioned in here are the armed forces.
That's correct. And I was going to point that out when Trustee Howell was done, but you're right.
Afghanistan, yes or no, but the armed forces are not mentioned once.
And so this is not, and it has been made clear that this is not a military memorial. It is not a veterans memorial. I think, and we had this discussion. I had it with Chief Tato, Chief Yost, and Mr. Kutnak, that it would be a great thing if we took our existing veterans memorial right next door and expanded that to include all of the brave men and women who have sacrificed in all of the different conflicts we've had since World War I, which that park memorializes, and build something there that speaks both aesthetically and architecturally to the beam in a way that ties a memorial plaza together. But this is the way I envision it, and I'm reading from the mission statement of the controlling agreement, section 2.5 of the artifact. It is to be construed as an agreement to provide a dignified resting place for an artifact which represents both the terror of an attack upon the citizens of the United States, as well as the hope for a brighter future shown by the American spirit of recovery and the honorable renovation of the area of Manhattan, which suffered the attack of 9/11. And I think about what they've done in Manhattan, which is dedicated solely to the events of that day. And I think that that is the appropriate and right way to go about this memorial. And this was debated on April 7th when this agreement was proposed. It was debated on prior occasions, and it was made pretty clear that the board wanted this to be a memorial solely dedicated to the events of September the 11th. And
If that
that's
were
why
the
we,
case, then why would you exclude the military? The Pentagon was attacked, and also they participated in the defense of the country before the last plane was crashed. The Air Force was scrambled. The same day, the New York National Guard was on duty, pulled from their families and their lives. The same day, the Coast Guard and the Navy were on duty. That doesn't add up. The bottom line is, you said you wanted to be inclusive. You listed off the people to be including, which you have on here, but the U.S. Armed Forces is not on here. They were attacked that day, and they were on duty that day. Before the last attack, they'd responded already defensively and escorted planes to land. It doesn't add up. The other thing is that doesn't add up is that the mission statement for the memorial was clear, and I believe that this was discussed. Do you have anything that you wanted to add from the
I would add, Mayor, Trustee Howe, is that the Heroes of Freedom name was trademarked, and no, I just say no, your firm didn't do it. But the point was, it was trademarked, and the mission statement of Heroes of Freedom, which has been said 1,000 times, is to honor all those that have honorably served. That is fully inclusive of everybody, military, first responders, everybody, and that's what it should always be. Specifically eliminating the military is frankly just unacceptable. You can't do that.
well, and again, I understand what the Heroes of Freedom mission might be, but the mission of this village was to build a memorial to September 11th. And if you felt so strongly that that language was critical, then you should have given clear instructions to the appointed representatives who sat down with us and went over this for quite some time, put a lot of work, a lot of discussion, a lot of effort into this, in good faith, believing that what we came up with was going to be acceptable. And now, again, what you seem to be suggesting is it is not acceptable. And again, I would like your commitment that you are not going to pull this artifact out before dedication.
That's insulting.
We're not making. I don't have the ability to make that commitment at this point anyway. But it's the idea between you're the only trustee that met there? Was there another trustee that got together as
Any
well?
other trustees have any other comments? Yes, Trustee Howe is the only one.
The only one that cared enough to get involved? Then
Actually, it was called the day before. I was the only one
that's
who was
fine.
available.
That's fine. But we are a lot closer today than we were before. The one that whatever the trustees wrote and submitted back to the committee was completely and totally, and everybody in the committee said, what the heck is this? So the fact that you got together shows intent to get it right. And the fact that we pulled some folks together to work got us really, really close. So now we just have a few more finer details to work out. And of course, the final decision is the board. So
So to the bigger picture, when you had the discussion, and Chief Data, I know you were there, was it also not discussed that there are 4 storyboards and what the content of those 4 storyboards are?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a 2+ hour conversation, some arduous discussion over some semantics. What does this memorial represent? Is it the incident of that day and then subsequent events? And I think as Trustee Howe pointed out, there's more than just Afghanistan and Iraq. Certainly, I cannot stand here and speak as a veteran. I sat with 2 veterans at that meeting. Constantly polling. Are we going in the right direction? Does it sit well with you? Got that right, Jen? Okay. However, you know me, I'm never satisfied. I'm always looking for answers. At the Heroes meeting, it was the suggestion of myself to say, this thing isn't moving anywhere. We're not going to be very fruitful in our efforts. We could have sat at the meeting, at the Heroes meeting, and done 100 iterations of, what might work and what might not. So therefore, I suggested that a couple representatives go and meet with a couple trustees. And trustee, I believe it maybe a couple days. I'm a detail.
Yeah. I don't have my calendar, sorry.
That's okay. I'll hold you to it. But anyhow, when we got together, we ran through, food diegetic. It's been pointed out that we have the firefighters and cable law enforcement listed here. I went to great lengths to research the Pentagon. Did we have any military that, that ran in that took action? I did find the actions of Chris Freeman, I believe it's an Army Ranger, who I believe carried out 62 bodies, saved a couple of people, but today he is significantly disabled. He burned his lungs doing that. Where do we split the hairs on what's right to add and what's not right to add? Mayor, I think, you're pointing out that we have storyboards that are going to elaborate more fully on what happened that day, what happened subsequent to that day, plays a part of this as well. And I think it's important that we get those storyboards correct as part of the discussion.
So to the point, first of all, the mission of the memorial was always stated back 15 months ago now. So it's in the press, and it's actually in the recordings of our meetings. It was to create a fitting tribute for those who were affected by the events on September 11th and their families, as well as the subsequent wars and their families. It was at every meeting in the minutes, in the recordings. You can hear that mission is stated every time. It was in the press. There's video of it, and in fact, one of the mayor's messages had the video. In fact, the mayor's message was took issue. So it was clear what the issue is. The reason why I bring that up now is because there is discussion about leaving the armed forces off the dedication plaque. Well, of the 4 storyboards, the discussion of the 4 storyboards, one is about the events of the day. One is about the Afghan war. One is about the Iraq war. And then the 4th one is about the elements of the memorial itself. That also was always from the start. That's when Ralph came and presented to the board on multiple occasions. That's always been part of the plan. So even though that may not be stated in the agreement that it's expressly has to be this, it was always conveyed. It was always part of the deal. No one was ever confused about that point at any point in time. So again, trying to create a fitting tribute is the goal. And so I'd like to hear from the other trustees. Do you think that leaving the U.S. Armed Forces off of the dedication plaque for this memorial, the Heroes of Freedom Memorial, is fitting?
Let me suggest this. In the line there again, with the, to the memory of the fire, why can't we add in to the memory of the firefighters, EMTs, law enforcement, and military personnel?
Yeah, United States Armed Forces, whatever, something to that set. So, yeah, and that's my point, is if we can get past this few words and give proper recognition, then this is a done deal, and it doesn't require all of this angst and consternation.
I think that's a good idea, because I went back, looked at my notes, in my public comment, the first time this class came up, and I wanted something that was precise. I wanted something that was inclusive. And I did mention that applying for the U.S. Military, something to the effect of that was one of them, the Armed Services, the members of the Armed Services of the United States. Well, within a minute, I said that. I like Trustee Mike comments because it brings that inclusiveness, but I do have a couple comments about I was a member of this committee from the beginning, okay? I recused myself once this board signed an agreement on, or agreed to an agreement on March 17th of 2015. Okay. I recused myself because that would have been sensitive that I continued to serve on this committee. And the enforcement. Some people have mentioned due diligence at the beginning of this meeting. And I know for some, it may sound frustrating that issues keep going back. We need more information. But I think the board did its due diligence by putting this agreement together. And I want to read section 2.13 of the agreement, and that's why we're here. Okay? Inscriptions, carvings, and bas relief, in addition to the reference plan, shall be approved by the village board before incorporation onto the memorial improvement. Folks, I have served on a lot of committees, and I know how tough it is to get volunteers to all put together the same direction. But if my calendar serves me correctly, it's August 3rd. This agreement calls for the dedication or the completion of this monument on September 11 of 2015. Now, if my math is right, that's about a month and a half away. And here we are, we're just dealing with the plaque tonight. We've just heard in broad strokes about these storyboards. We haven't seen word one of these storyboards. We have been told at a prior meeting over at high school, one of many I met yet, too many, in my opinion. I spent more time at the high school as a trustee than I ever did as a superintendent of schools. But that's another story. Anyway, we heard back at the high school several weeks ago that the wall will have etchings of all the names of those who perished on 9/11. Plus, there was some talk about one side of the wall having a badge representing, police officers, probably New York Police Department, a badge representing firefighters. Okay, fine. We have never seen a formal proposal upon which this board is obligated under section 2.13. For any of those items, that's the wall, the storyboards, and here we are, we're just talking about a phrase on the plan. When is this, when is this all going to get done? I don't know.
Actually, we're on schedule for the,
Hang on.
I thought you asked too much.
Got to talk fast. The clock is ticking, all right? And I, as a board member, and I have worked for boards, I have served on boards in different capacities. If there's one thing boards hate, folks, is being put in a position with their back to the wall saying, you got to make a decision tonight because the deadline is this date. I don't like these board members, okay? I can't speak for my fellow board members, but that's not the way to do business. Okay? And to me, it just seems, and I know these people have all the best intentions at heart because I served on that committee, a lot of this planning is piecemeal. Getting the building permit without an accounting of the funds and without a construction schedule, that permit should never have been issued. It clearly states in this agreement that those two criteria have to be met. And they weren't. So here we are. Excuse me, I'm not done. It's 11:04, I think. This is the kind of stuff that drives boards crazy and makes them feel almost like you're in a car dealership. And you remember the old salesman's trick? Oh, this deal's on the table tonight. You don't take it tonight, it won't be there tomorrow. We're put in take it or leave it situations, and that's not a healthy way to do business. So, I for one, I'd be willing to go along with that suggestion Trustee Knight made, but folks, we have to see those storyboards. And I'd like to see a formal proposal of what's going to be on that wall. We heard it. We never saw a formal proposal that we, as a board, collectively could approve on. So I hope you sense some of my frustration, because I certainly don't want this to be a case of no good deed goes unpunished. Because we're trying to do something right here, but it's not being made easy for this board. We're trying to abide by this agreement. And I'm concerned about the timeline and the lack of information coming to us in a timely manner. So I said what I had to say.
All right. So, Don, I think you can speak to the timeline schedule, but, I think just to defend Don a little bit there, I think the treasurer was in the hospital and the documents were supposed to be submitted there, and Don didn't know and he drew the permit. So they were there the next week. Yeah. So, in keeping with the agreement, the concerns were, are we able to finish the memorial, which all of those concerns were clearly addressed to the concerns and no ground was broken before that. So the ground is kept open. But Don, do you want to speak to the schedule?
Well, I asked you, has any of the trustees been out to look at the stuff?
I saw pictures that were posted,
I thought, not a picture. Did anyone physically go out to look at the stuff? The concrete, all the footings that have been poured in 3 days, half the job is already done for 3 days. We have Lake County contractors, but they're all on board for this memorial. They're doing electric, they're doing everything. It's not a one-man show. They're giving Wauconda the best guys to put this together. It will be done for September 11th. The plaques, I cannot say on that because that's up to the board.
Well, it's really not up to us. With all due respect, we need to see a copy of what they're going to actually say. And we need a formal proposal of what's going on that wall. It's just dotting the i's and crossing the t's. I'm not asking for anything that's outside this agreement. It's just, let's get it down in writing. Because there's another expression besides no good deed goes unpunished. If it isn't in writing, it doesn't exist. And we need to see that in writing.
Yes, I do. And Trustee Barbini, I feel your pain. Ergo, my suggestion at the last meeting to get together with a couple of trustees to try to move this forward in the right direction instead of the big room back and forth, and that whole thing. I have a suggestion, much like the last one, which was, can we have a couple of trustees and a couple members of the committee to sit down and work through the storyboard, work through the rest of the details that are pertinent to the agreement and get this thing done.
Which we did discuss as a group, as a committee, and that asking is why we asked you to be on the committee in the first place, was so that we have that interaction and that the bases are covered. So if we can repeat that and go back to that, I think it would help us move this faster, because at the end of the day, there are drafts, but the committee still has to decide on the drafts for these things. And actually, just before the committee goes into all that effort to produce it, I just want to make sure we're on the same page too. That these are the 4 storyboards. Everybody's in agreement. Now we can produce the content that goes with them, which again, I have drafts of those. But we still have to decide as a committee what those are going to say.
Well, again, in not so many words, and as a committee member, you know how adamant I was about bringing forward some ideas, working with a subset of trustees so that we could move forward, and the same thing applies to me. I don't think the committee, we can sit there as a committee till we're blue in the face. So I think it's going to take a joint effort to get this done and get it done in the right way. So what I'm suggesting is, Trustee Howe, I think, we had a lot of great discussion. If we could have another trustee and then trustee then, brings forward, a joint idea, if you will, for the board. I did get a thing today that showed the badge, much like, you had an idea, or a number of people had an idea of the panels that will be hung on the wall and Iraq and Afghanistan on there. Yeah, I think what we decided was we're going to just keep the decedents on the wall at this point from the incident itself. And I don't think, there may be a discussion I had with Trustee Howell the other day when we were talking about the other piece here. I don't think any of the other trustees know that. Obviously, Trustee Barbini does not. And I think it's important that we open some really good guidelines and get this thing done.
But it has to come back to the board.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Because that's in this agreement. It says
And I'm not suggesting anything other. What I'm suggesting is we're gonna get much more done in a much more expedient fashion.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying circumvent anything, right? I'm saying, let's get it done so that we can meet the intent and the law of what the agreement says.
So you want to do it again?
I think that's a great idea. I want to thank Chief Gato, Chief Yost, Trustee Howe, and then Don Chief next to the meeting. We had two versions in our packet, and it seems like neither one is acceptable to the committee. So we're back to square one on this. So really this is evidence of the lack of communication between the committee and the board. And we want to work together. The board wants to do the right thing, but we're not going to, vote on something that's not appropriate. So I think that's an excellent idea. Maybe Trustee Howe, Trustee Darby.
Well, I think Trustee Knight's suggestion of that three-word addition to the second to last paragraph on page 33, it would have been fine with us had any of us thought of that last week when we met. And I don't know about how the rest of the trustees feel about it. So it'd be law enforcement personnel and armed forces who lost their lives that day. Mayor seemed like he was okay with that.
I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that, Kurt? You have time forces?
I didn't see it in its entirety. I haven't seen it. But did you all get the letter from Colonel Yantis? Lieutenant Colonel Yantis, did you have that one?
Do you have it?
I have it right here. I only have one copy, but you're welcome.
Just read it, Sam.
All right. Dear trustees and Mayor Bart, I regret I cannot attend the meeting on August 3rd due to business travel, but wanted to write in support of the Heroes of Freedom Memorial and strongly encourage you to include wording to acknowledge the services and sacrifices of all those that have honorably served on 9/11 and the wars on terrorism. As a Pentagon 9/11 survivor and 22-year Army veteran, I'll share with you my strongly held belief based on fact that the wars on terrorism are clearly linked to the 9/11 attacks. Regardless, while we may not agree on the political or diplomatic reasons for a conflict or hold sincerely and deeply held beliefs against conflict of any kind, we owe it to those who wear the cloth of our nation to remember and honor their service. To our veterans, the men and women of Wauconda and the region who served our brothers and sisters of the previous generations of veterans. In the late 60s and 1970s, we as a nation and a people made some very bad choices on how we would recognize, support, and honor our veterans returning from combat in Southeast Asia. Instead of welcoming and supporting our Vietnam veterans, far too often they were met with harsh words and contempt, benign indifference, patronizing attitudes, and bureaucratic stonewalling. It was not until decades later that these veterans themselves changed the narrative and attitude and ensured that now other generation of veterans would be treated as they should have been. I would ask that all the trustees and the mayor set aside petty political differences and focus on what will be your legacy and how this generation of veterans will be honored. Please do the right thing and focus on the people who serve and not temporary issues. Do the right thing. The veterans who served are due the recognition this memorial offers. I appreciate your consideration and look forward to supporting this effort as it moves forward. I hope you make the right and just decision to honor those who serve. Sincerely, Ryan Yantis, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army retired and Pentagon 9/11 survivor.
The reason I would prefer not to be involved in this subcommittee is I feel it's best for the board to have franchise. Okay, I've been involved in this way from the beginning, and I think, as I said, I had to recuse myself from the committee when the agreement was signed. That being said, unfortunately, Trustee Plaque, and I don't want to volunteer you, Trustee, you feel uncomfortable, it was Trustee Plaque and Trustee Howe that we're going to meet with Mr. Gago and Mr. Kuzniak and I would suggest letting those two remain as the board's team, so to speak, to work out these other details. Because I do believe very strongly in a fresh set of eyes with this. And if it's okay with them, then that's fine.
So, on this then, the one thing I just want to make sure we're clear moving forward then for our mission and your charge then is to focus on the content of the 4 storyboards that are, as previously mentioned.
And a formal proposal on what the wall will actually say. We heard it, we never saw it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all the names.
It's the names, and then, are you going to have them both added?
Well, those still the designer we have to see.
Okay.
So, the Maltese cross and the shield and or badge.
Isn't that in the agreement? I think it's in the agreement on one of those paragraphs. It talks about the multi-cross and the police badge. I believe it was.
There was the model as presented. The model did have it on there, but anyway, we'll still, it is what it is. So the point is that we know what we're looking at here. These things are not exactly decided yet because they're looking to see what's going to be cast in bronze.
And another point of clarification here, I'm sorry, is this becomes, once it's all said and done, village property. Okay? So that's why we as a board have to dot the i's and cross the t's, okay? We're not being sticklers just in a bureaucratic sense.
So the other thing I think is important to see in this is that this is a committee of 20. So you see how difficult it is to get 70 in line. And so, the reason why I think it's important for us to parse this and know that, okay, the 4 storyboards are, as mentioned, so it's the events of the day, Afghanistan, Iraq, and elements of the actual memorial itself. So, like, for example, the Pentagon base stands for the Pentagon and so on. Is there a consensus that is in fact agreeable, and then we'll work on the content of this in the subsequent working group?
Yeah, this is the first time officially that we've heard that there's going to be 4 storyboards. Describing, I'm telling you, that was.
So the question I have is there consensus that that's what we're doing moving forward? Let's forget about the past and let's look at what's next. And what's next is we're trying to finish this memorial in time, and so again, the 4 storyboards are, as mentioned, the events of the day, the events in a storyboard on the Afghan war, a storyboard on the Iraq war, and a storyboard on the elements of the memorial. Is there a consensus that that is the mission? Because that was the mission of the group.
What about the names? Are the names on
The storyboards do not include the names. The names are on the back wall, which again, the model shows the panels that are posted on the wall. And this is as Ralph presented it, Ralph Schmidt, that they are just the names of the 2,900 some souls that were lost that day, and it's just their names. And then in addition to that, a bronze cast of the police shield that is not New York or Wauconda, it's just a police shield with, I believe, the number of officers that were lost that day, which I'm not sure was 72. And then it was a 364 or 343 for the fire district. So then it's a Maltese cross, which is the cross that most fire departments. That's kind of what that's the model that we're going after. The exact, we don't have those. So that's what we're looking for. I just want to see in concept that we have consensus on that, so that we can move forward with these things. We'll bring back the exacts once it's finished.
At the next meeting?
At the next meeting.
Right?
If we have to, and we're able to get it together, we can even call a special meeting, but we'll get it together. The bronze ones are the issue that takes time. The other ones we can, like, for example, the names are going to be printed onto alloy, aluminum or whatever, so that doesn't take as much time. But the bronze will take some time, so if we get it done by the next meeting, we should be in really good shape. If we get it done in the meeting, we could even call a special meeting over it. Conceptually, we have consensus.
I have a difficult time agreeing to something that is so generally and broadly stated as a consensus matter. What we're going to do is work the best we can with representatives of the committee.
That's not the question. The question is we are agreed that the detail that you're going to work on is the text of the storyboards, and that's what's going to be the focus. The other ones are already covered. We'll present this to the study. What I'm looking for consensus on is that we are in agreement that those are the 4 storyboards. That's the topic of the 4 storyboards. You can fill in the detail. Now, those topics will be set, guaranteed that is it. That's what I'm asking for consensus on.
Well,
It's a general topic, very general.
It's not general, it's about,
We'll fill in the details, but that is the goal. The 4 storyboards will be those 4 topics.
here's my question.
Yes.
At the next board meeting, take that as an on. Okay?
Yes.
So that would be the 18th. Okay? Will we have a formal proposal of what's on that wall?
Sure.
Okay? All right. Tonight, are we agreeing on the plaque tonight? With the changes,
Good with
Yeah.
the dedication.
All right, fine. Okay by me. So we got the wall. What's going to be on that wall? We've got the plaque, the dedication plaque that this subcommittee will work on, and the storyboard. And by formal proposal then will be brought back to the board. That pretty much covers all the inscriptions on this monument, right? So formal proposal will be brought back to this board. I think we're better off letting the committee work on those storyboards and bring that to us what they want. I tend to agree with you. We have 2 trustees.
I would just turn number 15 on.
Excuse me, sir, this board has not wasted anybody's time. If anybody's time has been wasted, it's been this board.
Okay.
Follow the agreement.
Let's move forward here.
Put us in this position at last minute making decisions. I thought I made that point very clear.
Order. Okay, so we will put together the formal proposal for the Heroes of Freedom Committee for the plaque, storyboards, and the just exactly what we mentioned. The shield, the Maltese cross, and the names on the wall, which again, that's what it is. So there's nothing more to add with those items. Really, the only issue is the content of the storyboard and the plaque, exact wording of the plaque. Looks like we're one step closer there, and that's what we need to do. Okay.
If I could just ask, if you could be sure that all the decision makers in the committee are involved in these meetings, so that we don't have something like this at our next meeting. Let you guys work it out, let's get into an agreement, and leave something so we can go back.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay, new business. Brad, ideally have consideration and approval of the contract extension for the chief of police. Is that right?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, back in May, the chief had announced to the board and staff his intention to retire at the termination of the current contract. I believe expired July 9th. At that time, the Administrator Matt Senator requested that he stay on in transition during that transitional time for 10 to 2 months. I believe there's a consensus of the board to allow that. So this is just formalizing approval of extension of the chief's contract for 2 months until September 4th, 2016.
Okay, thank you. Motion to consider the open discussion on a action consider approval of contract extension for the chief.
Second.
Discussion.
I'm just going to say the use of the term receptive and the memo I feel is somewhat inaccurate. With Chief Yost in the room in closed session, Administrator Maxine did share his opinion just then, but there wasn't very much discussion. I voted in favor of the Yost appointment, and on July 9th, really to be a team player. but I am not in favor of it. I think future benefits are and to fill the spot until retirement.
Other comments from the board?
I will go along with trustee Maxender's recommendation. We need it for a reason, and I'm not going to second it.
Administrator Nelson. Sure. Okay, other comments?
Yeah, I think that in the interest of having the least amount of turmoil and transition as possible, my expectation from what we've been told is that we will not yet have a new chief nomination to put before the board even as early as September 9th. So we're going to have to have a transition leader. And I don't know whether it'll be decent vendor or not. I think he's, as Trustee Starkey said, he's doing a fine job so far, and he's advocate. So, but I also see the problem with the short extension we'll have. But we need to, I think, to know whether we're just going to keep extending this or whether we're going to have a separate interim appointment for the new one, new chief nominated. That's all I want to make sure of going forward. So we don't have to keep revisiting this every 4 weeks.
Trustee Black, you have fun?
I was going to say, I agree with basically everything, just kind of understanding what Trustee Starkey's saying, but as Trustee Starkey, I will go along with Administrator Maxender's recommendation, but I also do agree that we do need to find out, are we going to continue to extend if we do not have a new police chief, or will there be a transition period for these two vendors going forward? That'd be one of the things I would like to find out. Or
Yeah, I can answer that for you now. The chief is retiring before the next week. So we have to put a retirement date, which is how he and village administrator Maxender came up with this, because he wanted to retire, he had to put in a retirement date, and that will be his retirement.
so that I should assume that the chief vendor will be stepping up in the interim position until the time he can become the chief. Is that correct?
Unless the police chief does. So that process is already underway. Okay,
I would agree with that as well.
okay. Other discussion? We'll get a motion then for the approval of the contract extension for the chief of police for September 4th, 2018.
We got it.
Oh, that's right. Roll call, please.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, item D, Village Services Committee recommendation to approve a 5-year contract extension with waste management for the village's residential refuse collection and collection of recyclable and landscape waste. Sean, can you motion open discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Brad, I believe you have this.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In accordance with local ordinance, the village facilitates a contract for residential waste hauling for the village residents. We currently have 3,772 village residents that take advantage of our waste management. That contract is expiring at the end of this month. We have been looking over the last several months at contract extension negotiations with waste management for that. They're seeking a 5-year extension. Originally, we are currently in the last year of their contract, which was originated in 2005 and extended again in 2010. The committee, the Village Services Committee, met in April and then again more recently in July to discuss some of the things that they were proposing in light of some of the uncertainties in the climate question. The committee had asked to consider including that in the services that waste management will supply, as well as leaf pickup. I know that the village originally had that some years ago, and that stopped due to budget cuts. So, outlined here, if I could go through just some of the bullet points on some of the highlights of the contract extension. I'll skip the rates because I have a rate table which we'll go over briefly. in a little bit. But basically, the contract would the seasonal yard waste, if people want to do the subscription service, pay the one-time fee, that would be going up from $74.43 to $90. However, there is still the option to continue to buy the stickers on an as-needed basis. Currently, the stickers are $2.14, and they're proposing $2.25. So a slight increase with yard waste stickers. The other thing I mentioned was the leaf service. They're had offered for 88 cents per month per account added to your bill that you would have basically leaf service. So the residents would take their leaves to the parkway, and then they would come basically a 6-week service starting in mid-October through November, which 6 weeks service would go through. They were requesting through years 2 through 5 CPI annual adjustments, whatever the CPI is, between 2% and 3.5% match or ceiling. Originally, they had requested a 4% use. They asked them to adjust that, so they did. There's also a 10% senior discount, which once we get to the rate structure, I have factored in and show you what that means to for the seniors. Also, there is going to be no annual charge to upgrade any of your recycling carts. Currently, most people have a 64-gallon toter. If they would like to go to a larger waste management, you can swap that out. Obviously, there's no charge. They would continue to support a lot of the outings, the fireworks they sponsor. They provide a lot of facilities at no charge. For instance, the street dance, they supply the porta potties, things like that. This next one is kind of big for us down at Public Works. Currently, we have a number of dumpsters on site where we put street sweeping, but we also put, as a result of wastewater treatment plant process, we fill some of those up, as well as weeds from the lake that we harvest. Currently, we pay, depending upon how much we produce in a given year, we pay between $15,000 and $20,000 a year just in dumpster service. So they have agreed to waive all those fees if we were to renew. Continued with our Sharps program. If you recall, a couple of last year, we had those Sharps delivered into the police station. There is not only a fee for that kiosk, but also an annual fee for the pickup and delivery of containers that would continue at no charge. And then also they're proposing an at-your-door service, which is basically for additional $1 per month per account. You're able to call them up and make arrangements to pick up any household hazardous waste, like old paint, oil, things like that, as well as electronics. So if you have an old TV, you can make arrangements for them to pick that up at the end of your driveway. That's kind of a key element in this thing because in speaking with Wauconda, they had told us that if they did not receive a no-cost contract by November, they were probably going to be getting out of that service altogether. So basically what that would mean would be that there would be no option for anybody in Lake County to basically get rid of their electronics unless they paid, a fee for waste management. I believe waste management currently you can call them up and there's a pretty hefty fee if you're not a subscriber subscribers to something like this. Then if you look on the back on page 36, I do go through what the rates mean, what the various proposals and how they affect. Basically, this is kind of an a la carte thing. So if we just want to go with the basic proposal without the lead service or the electronics pickup, if we look at the cost per month, that would go to $17.35 or the $16.75. They are proposing an option this year. Currently, we do not have an option. We have just unlimited service for $16.63. The reason why there's two prices up there is because currently Waste Management rents toters to 1,988 of the 3,772 customers. So over half of our current customers are paying the $1,804 per month. Which under the new contract, everybody will be getting toters, and there's no additional rental fee associated with that, as well as 2 levels of service. So there's still the unlimited 96-gallon toter service for $17.35, which even the people that are renting toters now, that's actually a price decrease. But then those who don't generate a lot of waste, there's another option for a smaller cart, 64-gallon cart, and it's basically whatever you can fill up in that cart is what they will haul away, and that's for a significantly reduced price at $16.70. And then you can see as you add in some of these other amenities like the leaf collection and the electronics collection, how that affects the overall rate. So if we were wanted to do everything, the electronics and the leaf collection, basically your cost per month would be going the unlimited $19.38 a month. And then I have also costed out the 10% senior discount and how that would affect the seniors and what their overall rate would be. So essentially for seniors, if they were to pick the basic rate with a limited 64-gallon cart, so that would be less waste generated, their fee would be $16.77. See where I'm getting that? Right. Okay, and that's with the leaf pickup and the electronics. Currently it's $16.63 if they're not renting a cart. If they're renting a cart, then it's $18.04. So it could potentially be a fairly significant savings for them, and also increase the service from the electronic. So basically, what we're seeking tonight is, I do have representatives from Waste Management in the audience. His name is Ron Kirchner. If you have any questions, specific questions on some of the programs that are available, or any other questions, come on up, Ron. We won't be as tough.
Do you have any comments? Mayor, just want to thank for having here and reviewing.
I do have a question on the electronics. How many times a year can someone call for an electronic pickup? Could you explain that a little bit?
Actually, it's what we call every door. So in essence, it's based on duty. Things that have 2 ways to call in to regular pickup. Phone, email, and anything like that. There's 2 ways to do that. Once they call in to make that pickup, kit comes mailed out to them. Where they can put all the material in the kit. They put it on the front door. Special date is arranged, and they come and pick it up. So it just really depends on who's going to speak, doesn't take time to out.
And then will you be sending out information to the residents on how to do that? Because that would be really great.
Oh, yeah, the communication is key in that, and we're really great service, postcards and meetings with the
We also like to have some, we also like the household waste. Could you tell us a little bit about that, especially for very hard to do?
Well, in this program, it's basically household hazardous waste, stocks, clothing. So anything that is considered as a household hazard, it's going to sometimes be in traffic certificates. There would be, oil-based chemicals, solvents, pesticides, all those things. So, that's what we're working on. Right now. All the